Revenge of Noxi is a ninja-style game inspired by classics from the Sega Mega Drive. It follows Noxi on a trip to her destroyed home with a mission to save her beloved. Now, I really thought this game was a sequel to something once I played it. It had a lot to do with this line in the Steam description that says, "Based on the awesomeness of Noxi." I know, I was reading into it too much, but that didn't stop me from spending 2 hours searching for a game based on Noxi. I mean, the intro literally says, returning home from a long battle against turmoil in Hexendorf. Makes you feel like there's something missing, doesn't it? I looked up Hexendorf, I looked up Noxi, I looked up anything possibly related to her. Trevor did too. Poor man found some Transformers stuff that is definitely not for innocent eyes. He hasn't been the same since. Anyway, there is no previous game, or book, or comic, or show, or anything relating to this Noxi that we could find. And I'm pretty sure she's not a Jedi. So yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way before we get into the thick of it. Let's start off with the weapons. Your primary is dual swords, and they are animated fairly well. I especially like the block animation when more than one shot is coming at you, although the shurikens end up getting used a whole lot more. They aren't anything fancy, but they do their job well. The only issue I have here is the button. Both are set to the left click, and the only thing that switches what you're using is whether you're running or not. I understand it, but I don't like it. Just make them 2 different buttons so if I'm running through a level I don't have to slow down to throw one. The level design is pretty much what you'd expect from this style of game. A whole lot of reused components, even to the extent of using a picture of the enemy as a background for the nuclear level. They didn't have names, so that's what I'm gonna call it. We'll get back to that in a minute though. The first level is set outside of Noxi's home, on street level. It's a fairly simple level when it comes to the enemies, but the design is done really well. As I said, there's a lot of reused assets, but I understand it with this type of game. The rest of the levels, except for the second, are all set inside Noxi's home. Yeah, it's a pretty big house. One of those that look way bigger on the outside. Personally, I think the game should have been based throughout her city, rather than her home, but that's just me. It would have made a lot more sense when looking at the 4th level. Remember that nuclear level I mentioned? This is it. I don't know if Noxi's house is a town power station or what, but it makes no sense otherwise. It straight up looks like something ran on nuclear power. And you have to make it explode to move on, which makes the whole in her house thing feel stupid. It's not the only thing that makes the game feel stupid. No, the first boss does as well. On my first playthrough, I didn't think the same thing, but in my second playthrough, I came to the realization that he's on timed intervals for his attacks. Every 8 seconds to be exact. Matter of fact, all the bosses are on some sort of timed interval. The only thing wrong with that for this one is that he only has one attack. Makes it laughably easy. If you don't want the rest of the bosses spoiled for you, skip ahead to the marker. If not, you've been warned. The rest of the bosses, as I said, are on timed intervals as well. The second is this maniac on a bike that actually brought some real challenge to the game. He's nothing special when it comes to attacks, but he's a step up compared to the first boss, with having a sort of second stage. The rest of the bosses don't show up until the last 3 levels, and the 5th level's boss is just as laughable as the first. If you can dodge her on the attack, she'll beat herself, by destroying the things that cause damage to her. It's not as basic as the first one, but it still makes the boss laughable. The next one, on level 6, is a little more exciting than the others. He doesn't cause damage to himself, and he has more than one attack unlike the others. No, he's not anything memorable, but he's definitely better than the other bosses. They saved the best for last because I had a lot of fun with the last boss. Its attacks were varied, and its ability to spawn in enemies really made it a challenge. It's the only one that took me more than one try to beat, and it shows what could have been with the rest of the bosses. The enemies are fairly well varied after the first level. They include a few different variants of these orange flying tiger looking things, garbage bags with faces, flamethrower enemies, and these faceless goblin looking things. There's also a few others that are more of a hazard than an enemy, like these ladies in lawn chairs throwing bottles, and this dumpster that drops trash on you. Oh, I almost forgot, there's also these flymen that spit acid just like the tiger flies. Let's get into the bugs though. There are a few. I wasn't able to get the first one I experienced on video, so I'm assuming it was just a one-time thing. I got stuck on one of the crouch paths and it absolutely would not let me move. If you play the game and experience that bug, let me know in the comments so I know I'm not alone here. Others include a bug that makes the streaks of lava or fire, whatever it is, cause no damage. It's a bug in your favor, but it's still a bug that needs fixed. The major one though I didn't experience until going back for clips for this video. I died at the same time as pressing a power up and it absolutely wrecked the game. Here, I'll show you. Speaking of the power-ups, I think they are pretty cool. All except for the last. The deceptive dance of, yeah, that word. It doesn't seem to do jack crap. The enemies still target you if it's supposed to be a distraction for them, and they don't block any damage if it's meant to be a shield of sorts. If anyone has any other idea as to what it's supposed to be, I'd love to hear it. There's concept art as well. I almost forgot about it. It's nothing fancy, but I like that they showed off all the drawing board work. Especially these images of the original level designs. They really put thought into the layout. I can't say the same for the design of the layout, but it's really cool that they included this half of the process. Overall, I can say I enjoyed the game. Maybe not to the intent of the devs, but I had fun playing it and laughing at the minor mistakes. Although I can't say I recommend it. Maybe with some work put towards making the bosses more of a challenge, and some tweaks to the power-ups, I would. However, the levels, even with the lazy design, are pretty fun for the most part. Not memorable, but enjoyable. For anyone interested in trying out the game, I'll leave a link to the demo in the description. It releases on the 14th, but I'm not sure on the price yet. I didn't mention it at the beginning like normal, but the game was developed and published by Mega Mini 009. That's all for today, guys. We don't normally ask, but if you enjoy our content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And for more news, reviews, or whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed.